Good morning. Welcome to Meditate with Adam, session 177. Hope you're well. We are continuing our training in the joyful mind of renunciation, developing the wish to attain liberation, developing the wish to attain nirvana. Nirvana is a mind that is completely free from delusion. Sometimes our mind is pacified from delusion. We have a feeling of peace and calm. The less presence of delusion in our mind, the more peaceful and calm we are. We know some days we feel wonderful, happy, compassionate, no problem. At that time, there's less delusions influencing our mind. Other days, delusions can be quite strong in our mind, and we struggle, get annoyed, irritated, upset, sad. Renunciation is a mind that wishes to be free from the influence of delusion and to be peaceful, not just for 1 moment or 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but always. In the same way that we have aspirations and wishes throughout our life, we've had them, and we have them for things in the future as well. It can be a small wish, like I want to have a cup of tea. If we want a cup of tea, first of all, we need to develop the wish to have a cup of tea, don't we? We're not going to have a cup of tea if we don't wish to have a cup of tea. So we think, I'd love to have a cup of tea. And then based on that wish, we go make ourselves a cup of tea. If we don't have the wish to make a cup of tea, we won't find ourselves drinking the tea. When we find ourselves sitting and drinking the tea, we're only able to do that because we developed the wish to sit and have a cup of tea. We may have a wish to get an electric car. If we finally do have an electric car, we find ourselves plugging it in at various electric points. Why? Because at one point we had a wish to have an electric car. We read about it, maybe watched some program about it, maybe even someone in our family, street, friend had one. We thought, yeah, I think I'm going to get one. I'm going to do my bit, we think to ourselves. When we're plugging our electric car in and driving around, enjoying our electric car, we're only able to do that because we had a wish to have an electric car. Maybe we had a wish to get married. And then we find ourselves standing in a wedding, our wedding. How did we end up there? And at some point, a ring is slid on our finger. How did all that happen? Well, because we had a wish. Maybe we had a wish to buy a house, to live in a particular area. We haven't always owned the house and we haven't always lived in that area. But at one point, like now, we may be living in that house. But at one point, we didn't live in the house and we didn't own it. How did we end up with that? Because we had a wish to be in the house and live in the area. Yesterday, I was talking about how, as living beings, human beings, we have 2 basic wishes all the time: to be happy, to be free from suffering. So when we have all these, have a cup of tea, own a new car, get married, live in a house, own a house, live in a particular area. When we have all these wishes, they're coming from a deeper wish, which is to be happy and to be free from suffering. And then we make decisions based on that wish. So those decisions are governed by perhaps being influenced by the world around us, our friends, family, where we're brought up. And we hope for the best, don't we? We literally, fingers crossed. We even say it, don't we? Fingers crossed it all goes well. And we embark on a relationship or moving into a new area. We hope for the best for ourselves. But we know from our own experience that sometimes the decision that we made doesn't necessarily lead to an increase in happiness. It may temporarily, but not necessarily a permanent increase in happiness. It doesn't necessarily lead to peace of mind, and it doesn't necessarily lead to less problems, less suffering. Sometimes the decisions we make actually can increase the suffering in our life, even though when we made them because we wanted to decrease suffering in our life. Renunciation doesn't mean that we stop making decisions like to purchase things and to have relationships, and it simply means that we understand that if we want to be happy and free from suffering, we need to pacify, reduce, and eradicate the presence of delusion in our mind. And renunciation is a joyful mind, understanding that to fulfill our basic wish to be happy and free from suffering, we need to reduce, pacify, and eradicate delusion. Anything else that we do will still have delusion in our mind. So for as, for as long as we have delusion in our mind, we're still going to experience problems and difficulties. We know, don't we, that we can go out to a nice restaurant and everything can be going fine, and then suddenly we become angry about maybe the service or the person that we're with. We have a disagreement, and then the whole experience becomes unpleasant. That's coming from delusion. We can be living in a lovely house, the house of our dreams. We spent so long making it nice and homely, and then we become upset about something or sad. And then suddenly we're experiencing problems and difficulties in this home. The home itself can't protect us from suffering. Homes, nice homes, they protect us from the elements. Hopefully, if there's a secure roof, they protect us from the elements. That's all. They don't protect us from suffering, because suffering comes from the mind. The elements, that's just the elements. So a house protects us from that. A relationship, for example, what does that protect us from? Initially, it seems as though it protects us from loneliness. When we embark on a relationship, we feel slightly less lonely. Relationships feel lonely. In fact, maybe even more lonely than they did before. So if relationships have the power to protect us from loneliness, everybody in them would feel less lonely. Not the case. It's a distraction away from the loneliness. Loneliness is a state of mind. Loneliness comes from feeling isolated and independent from the world, which is an incorrect mind. It's a distortion, it's a delusion, because we are connected to the world. And if we were to be able to reduce that delusion that makes us feel independent, we wouldn't feel lonely. But the mistaken mind thinks that we have to be in a relationship to feel less lonely. We have to be holding somebody's hand, and then we'll feel less lonely. But it's not the case, ultimately. The suffering of loneliness only reduces correctly when we reduce the delusion in our mind. So renunciation is a wisdom. Yeah, it's a wisdom mind that understands, if I want to be truly happy, have long lasting peace and happiness in my life, feel contented, feel satisfied, I need to attain liberation. I need to reduce and abandon the delusions in my mind. How wonderful. Yeah, so it's a joyful mind. Renunciation is taking us on an inner spiritual path. When renunciation dawns in our mind, we find ourselves on the spiritual path, the actual path, a mental pathway, taking us to peace. And along that pathway, we'll experience more and more peace every single day, more and more happiness coming every day, because we're less interested in following delusions, which cause us problems and difficulties, and we're more interested in following wisdom, which causes us peace and happiness. It's a bit like we've got in with the wrong crowd at school, the delusions. And we all know what happens when we get into the wrong crowd. They guide us in incorrect ways, which cause us difficulties. That's the delusion. Now we realize that, and we get in with the crowd of wisdom. It's all mental. And in our meditation, we start with the breathing meditation. And then we move into cultivating this wish. I must attain liberation. I must attain freedom from the presence of delusion in my mind. I must attain nirvana. And then we try to hold that mind. And then just towards the end of the meditation, we'll turn it around, which is then cultivating compassion. How wonderful if all living beings could be free from delusion, attain liberation and nirvana. And then we dedicate all the good energy from our group meditation so they can accomplish that. So please sit in a comfortable position, beginning by focusing on the breath. If your mind feels distracted, you can try counting the breath. If you feel relatively focused, just abide with the natural breath. Let's see if we can count 10 rounds of breathing together, just to focus the mind. We appreciate that the suffering in our life comes from the presence of negativity in our mind, delusions, and we develop the wish to be free from that, free from delusion, free from negativity, to attain liberation, complete freedom from the negativity in our mind. This is a joyful mind, aspiring mind, and must attain liberation, guiding us inwards, away from distraction. I must attain liberation, nirvana. Try to hold this mind single pointedly in your meditation. The mind wanders off. Breathe into the moment. Use your breath to guide you inwards and let go of the distraction, and try to place your attention on your object of meditation, which is the wish in our heart to be free, to be free from uncontrolled mind, uncontrolled life, and to attain peace, nirvana. over the last few minutes. Encourage yourself to have this wish, a wish to attain mental peace, mental freedom. May I attain permanent freedom and liberation. May I reduce and eradicate the negativity in my mind. And we turn our renunciation around and focus it on others and develop compassion for all those people we know in our life across the world. How wonderful if all living beings could be free from their suffering. And we dedicate the good energy from our group meditation for this aim. May we all attain liberation. This was the meditation. Between now and our next meditation is often known as the meditation break. So whenever our next meditation will be, who knows? It could be in an hour's time, it could be at lunchtime, it could be this evening, or maybe tomorrow morning here at 8 a.m. Whenever you choose to do your next meditation, or it could be next week, next month. Between that time, then the meditation break, try, if you can, to hold to the best of your ability your object of meditation. The object of meditation is the mind that wants to attain liberation. As we're going about our daily life, cooking, walking, driving, talking, emailing, chatting, exercising, we always have wishes. We always have aspirations, many different aspirations. Often they're worldly, to do with just worldly attainments. Try if you can, just to encourage yourself to grow this wish to attain liberation, and you'll see the effect it has on your mind. It'll make the mind more peaceful. And when we stop aspiring for worldly attainments as much, our mind becomes quieter. And we discover a new experience, contentment. Yeah. I wish you well on your path to nirvana. Have a great day ahead and hope to see you soon. Bye for now.